This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome on in, everybody. The Yanks Go Yard podcast here live on a Tuesday. Haven't done this in a little while. Monday got a little dicey. We had a lot of content produced, a lot of things going on. Adam Weinrib on vacation this week. I am your host, Thomas Carannante. We'll be going solo, not for too long. I'm not going to keep you guys too long, but there is a lot of Yankees stuff to talk about, especially after what just happened this weekend, especially with two division rivals on deck. Playoff race heating up. We're heading down the stretch. There's just a lot to process here. Are the Yankees back? Might feel like it. Kind of not sure. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a revival in strategy and play? Or is it the Yankees had to simply win games, and they did exactly that? We're going to dive all into it. We have, obviously, the series sweep against the Cardinals, which has renewed hope all over the place. We have big Giancarlo Stanton news that came out today. Aaron Boone appeared on the Talking Yanks podcast to reveal his status for this series against the Rays and projecting what he might be able to do against the Red Sox over the Cardinal series. We want to discuss a couple of lineup changes that were made that could benefit this team down the stretch into the postseason, so on and so forth. And then let's bring the whole MLB picture into it. Cubs are struggling right now, kind of going through what the Yankees just went through for 2.5 months. What's happening over there? Kyle Tucker, really bad over his last 30 games. Cubs deciding to make a decision there to help him out. Why won't the Yankees do that with their own players? I don't know. We're going to talk about it all right now. We're going to dive right in. How's everybody doing? Hit us up in the chat. Let's talk about some topics. I'm down for it all today. It's the Wild West. We're having some fun. So, series sweep against the Cardinals. Not sure what a lot of you guys thought about it. Obviously, the Yankees have won 5 of their last 6, which is incredibly promising. Wild card, by the way, AL wild card completely tied. Mariners, Red Sox, Yankees, all tied. And with the Blue Jays' loss last night to the Pirates after Tommy Pham broke their brains with a bat flip on a walk, that then resulted in the Blue Jays making a bunch of errors and completely melting down. The AL East is down to 5 games for Toronto. So there's plenty of season left. We got 6 weeks here for the Yankees to make up that ground and make up for all that they put us through from the end of May until this weekend. But in terms of this Cardinals series, I think there are a few points that are very important to A, bring up, and B, expand upon, because it could be very indicative of how this team performs moving forward. So you had Friday. Friday was a battle. Luis Gil fighting through those 5 1/3 innings. The offense didn't really help him out. Obviously, they got those early runs, but then they left so many guys on base. They didn't cash in on countless opportunities. Bullpen comes in, nearly blows it, but they get a narrow 4-3 victory. They put us through the ringer. We fans were objectively not happy about it because it was a game that kind of should have been won from the start, but win's a win. What are you going to do? Can't complain about that, especially if the next 2 games transpired the way they did. So Max Fried on Saturday puts up a clunker. Really bad last 2 months for him. I think a 6-point-something ERA, 6.8 ERA since the beginning of July, which is just, it's unacceptable. But as we've come to know over these last few years, no Yankees free agent signing, no Yankee superstar, with the exception of Aaron Judge, is immune to this type of stuff. It happens with all of them. I think we can, again, chalk it up to an organizational problem. I don't know how that these situations continue to cascade in the manner that they do. Max Fried is an excellent pitcher. He is certainly adored among the fan base. Everybody was happy when he was brought in. Everybody was thrilled with what he was able to provide over his first 12 starts. But it's been a completely different story over his second half of the season. So I don't think we want to sit here and say that his contributions in the beginning of the year didn't matter, because that's absolutely not true. But what he's done over his second half of this season has completely negated almost everything that, all the goodwill that he created in April and May. So now we're at that point, have that awkward conversation. Is it an injury? Is it a mental thing? I don't know. Obviously, the Yankees defense hasn't exactly helped him out over the course of the last 2 months. It's been relatively subpar, as we know and as we've talked about at length. But for a starting pitcher who is in complete control, who is responsible for getting outs, sitting down the toughest batters, navigating through lineups and jams, Max Fried has done anything but that since the beginning of July. So, but either way, you have the offense putting up 12 runs. So you have this team effort, right, on Friday. Yankees get bare minimum run support. Pitching staff says, we're going to be nails. They were nails. 1-run victory, done. Saturday, pitching staff completely falls apart. Max Fried gives up, I think it was 7 earned runs or something like that. Yankees scored 12 runs. Ben Rice, 7 RBIs. A lot of timely hits left and right. Aaron Judge, home run. Everybody's flowing. And then Sunday, we have some questionable defense. We have Will Warren getting I thought it was a solid start by Warren. He didn't get help from the guys behind him, but he labored through those. I think it was 4 1/3. Camilo Doval comes in, not looking good, man. This guy's not in a good place right now, but he comes in, gives up the homer. And the Yankees needed a late rally to come back and win the game, and they did it in the 9th inning. So in that instance, you had offense and other members of the bullpen picking up defense and, other struggling pitchers. So I thought what I saw out of this was kind of a complete team effort, something we haven't seen in a very long time. In the beginning of the year, I think the roster complemented itself very well. We were talking about how the team was a lot more athletic after the Juan Soto departure. We talked about how they were better defensively. We talked about how the depth was much more formidable than we had seen in recent years. Then obviously injuries took hold, regressions took hold, everything kind of spiraled out of control, and we ended up where we ended up a week ago, where everybody was mostly up in arms. Do I think that this changes the complexion of the Yankee season? Not really. I think that they still need to do. Look, if you want to talk to me on Monday and the Yankees, let's say they split with the Rays in this 2-game set, which is tonight and tomorrow, and then they take 3 out of 4 from the Red Sox. I know that's wishful thinking because the Yankees are typically not that effective against the Red Sox. But yeah, then we can have a conversation on Monday about this team's season being turned around. I think that the Cardinal series has given them ingredients to turn around. Why? Because again, the roster played off of all the other areas, helped each other out, picked other players up when they were down, picked other units up when they were down, and persevered. Look, Cardinals are obviously not a playoff team, but they have been a solid team all year. They have real players who were targeted at the trade deadline, who that organization believes in and thinks that they're the next building block for whatever the future of Cardinals baseball looks like. So, and again, the Yankees are bad on the road. So to me, it doesn't really matter where they're going. The Yankees can't handle their business on the road. So the fact that they did so with, again, skeleton lineup. Paul Goldschmidt didn't play these first 2 games because of the knee issue. Giancarlo Stanton got 1 at bat, did not start a single game. Cody Bellinger was out sick on Saturday unexpectedly. So you had all those factors working against them, and they managed to persevere. So I think that was a good sign in terms of reawakening what they had earlier in the season. Secondly, I think that there was a couple of lineup tweaks here that I don't think Aaron Boone made intentionally, but maybe he was forced to make. So obviously with Stanton out the entire weekend, they had no choice. They had to play Jason Dominguez. Jason Dominguez played all 3 games. Jason Dominguez, before taking the field in this series, had been dreadful over, really the last month, particularly particularly over the last 3 weeks, it had gotten really bad. This series, notches a hit in every game, notches an RBI in every game. I understand we had Saturday with that wacky defensive play. I don't know what's going on. I was sitting in a bar on Saturday watching this game. This older man was sitting next to me, and I was talking to my buddy about, just the Yankees' failure to develop players. And this guy was high on all the young players. He said, "Hey, you guys are talking baseball." He's like, "I hear you guys talking about the Yanks." He's like, "Can you answer a question for me?" We're like, "Sure." He's like, "I'm sorry to interrupt." We're like, "No, don't interrupt. Don't worry about interrupting, sir. Tell us everything that's on your mind because we'd love to talk about it." He was like, "I was so high on these guys, Wells, Volpe, Dominguez. I was excited that the Yankees had finally figured out a way to get something out of their draft picks and their scouting and all that. And it's like, what's happening? Why can't these guys make it past AAA and succeed?" And we shrugged. We had no answers. He goes, "Jason Dominguez looks like he's on skates every time he's taking left field." And we said, "Yeah, I don't know." He's like, "Volpe, I don't get these prolonged slumps." He's like, "Austin Wells, I don't know what's happened to him." And what did we say? We had the same response. We don't know either, man. Clearly, there is some sort of developmental issue that's affecting these players from, the very the level right before MLB, and that's essentially been the case with all three of these players. I know Austin Wells might be going through some hand issues. We talked about that a lot. Probably the hand issue coupled with the mental toll of it all. I wouldn't say that that's comfortable for anybody in terms of having to process all of that and then deliver on the field at an incredibly taxing position. We know that that's probably what's at play here. But we've also seen Austin Wells struggle mightily without this injury. Last year, he completely fell off a cliff in the second half. Aaron Boone kept batting him cleanup. We don't know why, but that's what happened. Jason Dominguez, defense, big problem. Obviously, offense, not what. Look, he's 22. The tide can turn. I don't think anyone's giving up on him, but the early results just not impressive. And when you compare it to other top prospects across the league making their debut, helping their team in the playoff push, it's very underwhelming. And then you have Volpe, and we already know what the deal is there. This year we have a regression on defense. That said, Anthony Volpe defense over the last 3 weeks, really good. Really loving what we're seeing, I think, all around. The bat obviously is still a problem. He was scorching hot right out of the break, and probably a week and a half after the break, and then ever since then, not really doing much. And what did that lead to? That led to Anthony Volpe getting an off day on Sunday. Maybe the first time he's ever gotten an off day without there being like an injury attached to it. He got the off day earlier this year because of the shoulder situation when he dove and left that game early. This was his first true, "Hey, you're getting a rest, buddy. Enjoy." I think he went 0 for 8 with 5 or 6 strikeouts in the first few games of the series. So there was good reason for Aaron Boone to sit him. And who comes in? Jose Caballero comes in at shortstop. He played in all 3 games in the series. He went 5 for 11, scored 4 runs, stole 4 bases. I'm not saying Jose Caballero should be taking reps from Anthony Volpe, but if the Yankees had learned anything, it's that Jose Caballero should be in this lineup a little bit more often, given the fact that he could play third base. He's starting at third base tonight, by the way. Ryan McMahon's getting the night off. So the fact that he could play third base, shortstop, second base, and right field, that gives the Yankees a lot of options, with Aaron Judge being unable to play the field right now. Giancarlo Stanton, who we'll get into that news in a second, is back, but they're going to play it a little bit safe with him. And the fact that, you can get Jason Dominguez problematic defense, which we already talked about, and the fact that Ryan McMahon and Jazz Chisholm, they're going to need days off too, man. If you're preparing for the playoffs and you're talking about a 162 game grind, everybody can't be playing every day. Everybody can't be running to the ground. So you bring in the element of Caballero, who's a contact bat, who runs really hard, who plays solid defense. It's let's try it out. I think there's a lot to be said about Caballero's hustle down the line in the top of the 9th inning on Sunday that forced the bad throw from Cardinals second baseman Thomas Carannante. He completely rushed the throw because he probably saw Caballero booking it out of the box. And if that's almost any other hitter on the Yankees, with the exception of maybe Jazz, I think that's an easy play, and the defender isn't even thinking about it. So you got to weigh that. Also, the Yankees have stolen the most bases over the last month than they have since in a 1 month span since 2011. So they're being more aggressive on the bases. Caballero is obviously part of that. He leads the AL in stolen bases. That was the whole goal when acquiring him at the deadline. It was, okay, let's get a guy who brings a different element of play and a different skill set to this roster, and let's let him loose. So now's the time to let him loose. And I think that this is a really good sign for down the stretch, because if the Yankees can incorporate him in the lineup without it becoming a punt lineup, because remember we were complaining for the last 5 years about punt lineups. You know why they were punt lineups? It was because the Yankees had no bench. So you needed guys to take days off, but they couldn't really take days off because there was talent that was so inferior that when Aaron Boone did make the change to give somebody a breather or switch things up a little bit, it was like, what are we doing here, man? Like, we're taking our foot off the gas pedal in the name of just getting these nameless dudes in the lineup. So now that the Yankees actually have a bench, why not use it a little bit more and use it with intent? Give these guys days off. Give the opponents different looks with how you're situating the lineup. Secondly, Jason Dominguez. Tough conversation, obviously. I think that there is something to be said about his role with this team. You can be mad about him not fulfilling his top prospect status in year one, right? Somewhat valid. I think it's a nuanced argument, right? He underwent Tommy John surgery last year, got a delayed start to his 2024, kind of got jerked around by the organization last year. It came up in late September, or it came up in mid-September after the organization said there was no lane for him. And then he's kind of, I don't know, stuck in no man's land because he was spending so long at AAA, didn't really get the looks that he needed to at the MLB level. And now you're talking about, oh yeah, come up in September, we need a spark, figure it out. So I think that set him off path maybe a little bit. You talk about the start of this year, like, you could argue, look, he's an outfielder, so if you're a center fielder and that's your primary position and you're that athletic, you should, in theory, be able to handle the corners. But I don't know if it's that easy to say. I would hope that there's at least some validity to it, but in this case, there clearly isn't. Jason Dominguez can't handle left field. Don't know what it is. We haven't seen him enough in center field as a Yankee to make the determination that he's an adequate defender or a true five-tool player, which was his calling card coming up. But with that all being said, why can't we get happy or excited or thrilled about Jason Dominguez being a bench piece for down the stretch and in the playoffs? He's stolen 20 bases this year, which is actually incredible. He puts up really good at-bats against right-handed pitching. Against left-handed pitching, you don't have to talk to me about it. I have no interest in discussing it. He shouldn't be on the field when there's a left-handed pitcher unless he stops hitting right-handed, which I don't know if the organization's going to change that. But why can't we say, you know what? Let's look at this. Jason Dominguez, if there is a righty on the mound and someone needs a day off, or they want to move, I don't know, Cody Bellinger to first base, Giancarlo Stanton / Judge play right field DH, Ben Rice is at catcher, and Goldschmidt's on the bench. Like, I don't know. They've been doing this, some variety of this for a couple of weeks now. So, like, why can't we be kind of excited about Jason Dominguez being a starter in left field against a right-handed pitcher at the bottom of the lineup, putting up good at-bats and being a threat on the base paths? I think that's a really exciting thing for the Yankees because, again, they have not built a bench or any of their depth with intent. So you're sitting here and you're wondering how you're going to get the most out of Jason Dominguez. I think you have your answer. Again, you're not getting the most out of him by running him out there every day. And I know some people might think otherwise. They think that he probably needs more reps and more time on the field in order to do that. But again, I think the Yankees blew that earlier in the year when they decided to not start him every day when they had the opportunity to do so. They removed him constantly as a defensive replacement in April and May when those are the games and those are the months where he should be working out the kinks. Like, now you can't have him in the outfield as a late defensive replacement. You can get away with starting him, again, against a right-handed pitcher, but there's no possible way you can have him out there in the 8th and the 9th inning in a one-run game at this point. Like, the Yankees blew it. So I'm looking at Jason Dominguez as somebody who is going to help this team in a major way with his athleticism and his ability to put up solid at-bats against her. So, like, Jason Dominguez pinch hitting against a solid bullpen arm later in the game when the Yankees need a spark or the Yankees have runners on. I have confidence that he's going to put up a good at bat. Am I 1,000% positive he's going to get a hit? No, but I think we've seen again Jason Dominguez against right-handed pitching to trust him enough to be able to work that count and to be able to put himself in a position to get on base or to knock in a run. So those are two things right there. Jose Caballero, mix him in a little bit more. He's becoming an agitator for opponents, as you saw in his post-game interview. And we also have Dominguez being able to maximize his strengths in, I think, a positive manner if Aaron Boone can utilize him properly. So those two things came out of that series. I'm pretty excited about them, at least moving forward. It gives the Yankees a formula in order to get back on track. So if they can play it smart over these next 6 weeks and mix things up and give the opponents different looks and give guys rest down the stretch, I think it's a great recipe. And speaking of guys getting rest down the stretch, we have Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton is, I don't know. Is he injured? I have no idea. Is he hobbled? Seems like it. So full disclosure, you guys already know what happened. He started 3 games in the outfield against the Twins last week. That was the first time he's played defense since 2023. And then he didn't start a single game against the Cardinals. He got 1 pinch hit at bat, which I didn't think even mattered because at that point, Aaron Boone was saying, all right, Walker, get a hit in this situation, and then you're coming out of the game. So if Stanton hits a home run, he's walking around the bases. If he walks, he gets to first base, he gets taken out. If he hits a double, he's not hustling anything out. They were there to say, put lumber on the ball or figure out a way to get on base. So at that point on Monday, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, well, this guy's going on the IL. If he is, quote, taking a long time to recover from his few days in the outfield. And we've seen how this goes a million times, right? Stanton, oh, yeah, no, we're giving him a day off. Oh, yeah, he's dealing with some lower body soreness and he hasn't quite bounced back as quickly as we had hoped. Oh, yeah, now he's on the IL for 10 days, maybe 15. Might need longer. Who knows? So knowing how that has historically transpired, it was great news to find out today that Stanton's starting in right field against the Rays in Tampa, George Steinbrenner Field. But Aaron Boone did caution and say he's going to get Wednesday off, and then they're going to, quote, see where they're at for the Boston series. Red Sox come to town Thursday for a 4-game set. That might as well be a playoff series, in my opinion. You're all tied up in the wild card. You're chasing down the division. 4 games on your home turf. You simply got to get the job done. So if the Yankees are going to put themselves in a position to maximize their time and their games against the Red Sox, then to me they've kind of played it perfectly. Obviously, they shouldn't really be in this position, right? Like the spiral we've seen over the last 2.5 months has put them in this position where it's like, okay, now you have a must-win series against a division opponent, and it needs to happen. But at the very least, Stanton's not injured, and the Yankees are taking it day by day. But the fact that he's back in the field already, I think, is a good sign. If he was DHing tonight, I would say probably got to raise an eyebrow and wonder maybe what's going on. But if he's healthy enough to take the field, massive sign for the Yankees moving forward. Again, this is the hottest guy, he's all the hottest guy, hottest hitter on the team over the last month, over the second half. Him being out of the lineup was absolutely detrimental for, or we thought would be detrimental for this Cardinal series, but team persevered. Stanton needs to be in this lineup for this Red Sox series as often as he can. He murders the Red Sox. He's the only player who consistently plays well against them, and they simply can't be with it. It's a massive mental edge for them. It helps Aaron Boone out in the managerial game against Alex Cora. We've seen Alex Cora mismanage bullpen situations with Giancarlo Stanton in the past. So he needs to simply exist in this lineup throughout this entire weekend in order for the Yankees to have a chance. I understand that we were just talking about how they persevered without him and they were able to get by against the Cardinals, but Red Sox are different. Red Sox have had the Yankees number for quite a while on the big stage, and Alex Cora is clearly a superior manager and has been able to navigate his team well against the Yankees. So Giancarlo Stanton is the X factor. Giancarlo Stanton is the piece that's going to help them get to where they need to be heading into September. Because again, Jay's lead has dropped to 5. They're facing 2 very good Pirates pitchers over the next 2 days. Like Mitch Keller, good pitcher. I know he's undergone a tough stretch, but he's capable of 7 shutout on any given day. And Braxton Ashcraft, who earned a rotation spot because of his work in long relief. Like, I think that gives the Pirates a chance to win the game. So if the Pirates take 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays and the Yankees are able to capitalize over these next few days, then like whole new ball game. So Carlos Rodon tonight against the Rays, Cam Schlittler tomorrow against the Rays. We're gonna preview the Red Sox series on Thursday in a more detailed conversation. But for right now, this is what we're looking at. Rays right here, 2 games set. No reason they shouldn't win both. But again, if Stanton's out tomorrow, that's where Aaron Boone comes in. He's got to mix guys in the right spots and help them succeed. So there's a lefty on the mound, Shane Baz tonight for the Rays, and then tomorrow is Drew Rasmussen, right-hander. So it at least makes sense that Stanton would be getting the day off tomorrow in terms of the matchups. But again, hottest hitter on the team, so it doesn't really matter. Would like to see him in there, but then again, would rather him in there every day for the Boston series. One final thought here. We just touched upon this in terms of Anthony Volpe. I want to talk about what the Cubs are doing. So the Cubs have been in a bit of a free fall. Everyone's freaking out. They still lead the NL wild card by 3.5, 4 games, something like that. So I don't know why fans are too concerned. The Brewers' hot streak has them far and above everybody. They're the best team in baseball. So, like, if Cubs fans were worried, I guess, about chasing down the division, that would have meant they would need to be the best team in the league, which I'm not sure they have the roster to be that. Obviously, they are one of the best, but the struggles they're enduring right now, large part has been Kyle Tucker. He's been terrible over his last 30 games. And what did the Cubs do? Craig Counsell, highest paid manager in the league, says, yeah, we're going to give Kyle Tucker a few days off here. Need a mental reset. Got to figure out what's going on. Basic man. Like, I don't think it's reinventing the wheel. I don't think Craig Counsell is coming up with a genius idea in order to save one of his star players. But it's just interesting because we're now in year 3 of Anthony Volpe, who just got, I think, like the first day off ever, like the first actual day off ever without it being attached to something else. I'm actually going to look this up because Volpe in his first season played in 159 out of 162 games. And then at the end of that year, after the year ended, that was the year the Yankees didn't make the playoffs. Aaron Boone admitted that there was probably some wear and tear resulting in Volpe's struggles towards the end of the year, at least the last couple months, because that's when it got really bad. 2024, what did they do? He plays in 160 games out of 162, and the 2 that he missed were attached to injury concerns. So last year, you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, so you told us the year prior that there was an issue with Anthony Volpe and his essentially load management, if you want to NBA it, if you will. And you then took that insight that you put forward. Well, it wasn't people speculating about it, right? It was Aaron Boone coming out and saying, this might have been the problem. And then you essentially don't give him any days off, because I believe those 2 days were attached to injury concerns. But he ended up not. Thank God, kid never gets injured. He's been an Iron Man for this team so far this year. The Yankees are 67-57. So if my math serves me correctly, that is 124 games. Guess how many Anthony Volpe has played in? The answer would be 123. So he missed 1 game. He missed part of another game because of the shoulder injury. And the Yankees rest him for the first time this Sunday, and his replacement absolutely goes off and helps the team for a win. So really what I'm asking is that if the Cubs, and I don't think the Cubs are even caving to like any national pressure. It's just the fact that they're playing poorly. One of their best hitters has lost his way completely, and he needs to get back on track. The Yankees have not thought about doing that with Anthony Volpe essentially at all, because I'm still not going to count one off day as like, oh yeah, they shifted the philosophy on Anthony Volpe. They're finally giving him off days. No. If he's getting one day off a week for the rest of the year, I'd say, okay, great. They're clearly making a switch, but they do this once, and the Cubs are doing it multiple times in the span of a week, and the Yankees are now almost 3 full years into the Anthony Volpe experiment, and despite heinous struggles at the plate, despite and that's all 3 years, right? Heinous struggles at the plate, essentially the last 4 months of 2023. Same thing last year. Started off incredibly hot, cooled off, hot again right after the All-Star break, fell off a cliff. This year, scorching hot in April, started to fall off a cliff in May, absolutely awful in June and July, completely hot out of the All-Star break, now back to where he essentially was before that. In terms of the splits for this year, over his last, this makes sense, over his last 14 days, so that is subtracting the 13 days out of right out of the All-Star break. Over his last 11 games, he's hitting 167 with a 536 OPS. So he's essentially right back to where he was in terms of the regular struggles. Over his last 28 days, he's hitting 217 with a 764 OPS. And over those 13 games, that's where he's accumulated most of his impressive stats. He had 5 home runs over those 13 games, 5 home runs, 7 RBIs, and a triple, a double, and 12 overall hits. So now he gets a day off. Is that going to change it? I don't know. So he got Sunday off. He also got Monday off because the Yankees had an off day. But it's just confusing to me because I understand like not wanting to sit Aaron Judge. He's the best player in the league, and his slumps are still like better than most people's like regular ability to play. But the fact that you have the highest paid manager in the game, again, on an NL contender, benching / resting who was an NL MVP candidate 3 weeks ago, you have to sit here and you have to wonder what, like, literally, what are the Yankees doing? Are they sitting there and they're saying we're not going to listen to what, the calls from outside the house are relaying? The fans want Volpe to sit. The media is talking about how a day of rest would do him good. Everyone's bringing up the split stats when Volpe has extended time off as a result of a reprieve in, a break in the season, such as, the All-Star weekend or when the Yankees have a natural off day and stuff like that. So to me, it's Yankees ignorance, man. Like, you look at so many things that they have done in the past and how it seems like they believe that what they think and their processes are superior to everyone else's, and they're not going to listen to anybody else. This just goes to show, man, Kyle Tucker, like, guy who kicks the Yankees' ass too, like, guy who dominated for the Astros for years, was intrinsic to their essential, dynasty over the last however many years it's been. This guy is now getting benched for a mental reset when the Yankees couldn't even fathom the idea of giving Anthony Volpe a couple of days off when he was literally averaging an error a day for like a 3-week stretch, 2-week stretch, or whatever it was. So I don't know, man, but that stuff rubs me the wrong way. It's so annoying, and it's just so not constructive for what this team is trying to accomplish. This team is trying to get through the grind of a 162 game season. That goes for everybody. You're talking about a pitching staff that needs to be managed properly. You're talking about Giancarlo Stanton, who's unfortunately hobbled every year. Now you're talking about Aaron Judge with a flexor injury, can't play defense. When's he coming back to play defense? We don't know. Shrug, we'll figure it out. So, look, things are okay right now. I'll go as far to say that things are pretty good right now. You win 5 of 6, you get a sweep under your belt, you get 2 off days over the last 5 days, a little bit of time to reset, but here it is. This is the part of the season where you got to turn it around. This could be the beginning, again, like I said, of them turning it around. Division opponents, they are bad. They have a sub 500 record. They have the worst record. Is it in the AL East? They're like right neck and neck with the Orioles in terms of facing division opponents. That needs to end today. I'm not saying you have to sweep the next 6 games, but you absolutely cannot finish below 500, and you're not really accomplishing anything by going 3-3. You probably got to go 4-2. And the preferred method of doing that would be to split this series with the Rays and take 3 out of 4 from the Red Sox. If you split with the Red Sox, you're essentially just deleting days off the calendar because you're not gaining any ground on them. Obviously, you could get lucky. The Red Sox lost last night against the Orioles, so maybe they struggle these next 2 games against the Orioles, and the Yankees are able to triumph against the Rays and gives them cushion. I don't know. But either way, this is where it needs to stop. The Yankees need to figure out how to handle these opponents, the nationally televised games, right? Like they got 2 of them coming up against the Red Sox, and they can't they have 3. They have fucking 3, dude. They have 3. Fox on Thursday, kill me. Do you call MLB Network Prime Video on Friday a nationally televised game? Either way, so you have Fox on the series opener, and you have Sunday Night Baseball on the finale. And then the national audience can view the Yankees on Friday and Saturday. Obviously, they will be broadcast on local channels, but if you have MLB Network or Prime Video, you can also watch the Yankees and the Red Sox. So that's 4 games where the national audience is able to view this team. And the Yankees don't do well in that. So this is where you got to figure it out. I don't know how many more times I got to say it. This is it. Because after this, yes, the schedule softens. You have 4 against the Orioles, 3 against the Guardians, but the Guardians are kind of a playoff team, so I don't think that's going to be easy as everybody thinks. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Guys, I'm reading the wrong schedule. What an asshole I am. All right, we'll try this again. So you have these games against the Sox. Oh, it's even better. 3 against the Nationals, 4 against the White Sox. You just got to do it then. Then comes a little bit of a gauntlet. 3 against the Astros, 3 against Toronto, 3 against Detroit, 3 against Boston, at Houston. So, look, Houston's been struggling a little bit lately. And I think the Yankees are capable of beating them. It's just, again, overcoming the mental edge. Toronto, that series is going to be massive. That's the last time you play the Blue Jays this year, so you better figure it out. And then you finish the year Minnesota, Baltimore, White Sox, Baltimore. I don't know why they stacked all these games against Baltimore at the end of the year, but okay. Either way, this is it, because this is the last chance in this stretch that you're going to have to play the Blue Jays, and this is the last home games you're going to get against the Red Sox. So, look, they've set themselves up nicely. They should be able to handle it, and I think that if they handle it, they are proving to us that they are able to weather the storm and get beyond whatever plagued them since late May. If they don't, I think we're back where we were. I think we're back at this team is who we thought they were. This team is who we've said they were over the last 2.5 months. This team does not have what it takes in order to conquer their most difficult opponents, which is unacceptable, again, for a team with a $300 million payroll and mostly a lot of their star players able to play and able to produce. So take with that what you will. Rays tonight, Carlos Rodon on the mound. That sets him up for Sunday Night Baseball as well. So please, let's get a good outing tonight. Get the momentum going for the series finale against the Sox, because we know that one's either going to be the Yankees are going to be either fighting for a split or fighting for the series win. Hopefully they're not fighting for avoiding the sweep. That would be the end of all of us as we know it. But thank you guys for tuning in. Quick episode here. Again, Adam Weinrib on vacation. We're going to see him soon. He's enjoying himself. Something we said, though, Adam, vacation. Yankees win 5 of 6. Maybe another vacation, September 5th to the 14th. How do you feel about that? The Blue Jays, Tigers, and Red Sox stretch? Maybe we could do it. Appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. As always, you guys are the best. We love it. Appreciate you guys also reading the content at yanksgoyard.com. We are writing tirelessly over there. We have a team of writers. We're keeping up with all Yankees news, all smaller tidbits that we're not discussing on this podcast, localizing some national stories that relate to the Yankees that we're obviously not talking about on the podcast. So please head on over there. Keep digesting the content. We're going to keep bringing it to you. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget it. Would have given you an alert that we were going live today. Think some of you guys got it. Appreciate you bearing with us. It's been a busy week here at Fansided. A lot of baseball going on. I know that, technically it's the dog days, but guess what? A lot of trade deadline fallout still, a lot of stuff going on in terms of the playoff race. Don't forget, we have rosters expanding in September. We have the waiver deadline coming up, and we have the deadline for players to be put on the major league roster in order to be eligible for the playoffs. So still a lot of stuff to write about, still a lot of stuff to talk about. Don't let big media fool you into thinking that baseball is boring this time of the year. It is absolutely not. There are a lot of stories in between the lines we all need to read and know about. So once again, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thomas Carannante here at Tommy's_takes. If you want to hit me up on social media, at Yanks Go Yard FS is the official Yanks Go Yard account. Appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. We will talk soon. See you on Thursday for the Red Sox preview. Let's go Yanks. Rays on